Hello, Dr. Travis here again. In the first two videos we talked about your health and what controls your body, the nervous system. Today what we're going to talk about are the things that actually cause your health to decline and how that decline happens. You see, we're all exposed to three major stresses every day in our life. Traumas, toxins, and negative emotions. And these stresses get absorbed into our nervous system just like a sponge. And when our body becomes overwhelmed with these stresses, there's a breaking point that happens called subluxation. And we talked about this a little bit earlier in the previous videos, but basically a subluxation is a disturbance in the nervous system that prevents the brain from communicating to a certain part of the body. You see, if that nerve disturbance or the subluxation is left there over a period of time, days, weeks, months, or even years, then the life that's flowing to that part of the body is being choked off, which means not only does that body part get weaker and weaker, but the body part just continues to degenerate, which means that a disease process is setting into that part of the body. Now let's dig a little deeper and talk about the actual stresses that cause those nerve disturbances to occur in our body. Now, traumas are basically the things that we do to our body physically. So that would involve car accidents, slips and falls, repetitive movements that our bodies aren't used to, like shoveling snow or raking leaves, or sitting at a computer desk for a long period of time, bad posture, sitting in a car for hours on end. These are all examples of actual traumas that we do to our body every day. The second thing I want to talk about are the toxins that we consume. So the things that we eat, drink, and breathe. If you look on our food labels, there are excessive amounts of chemicals, pesticides, artificial flavorings, and basically the things like preservatives that keep the food longer on the shelf, keep it from spoiling, in other words. So when we have all these chemicals in our foods, once again our nervous system absorbs these chemicals, and there comes a breaking point where our bodies can't handle it anymore, and that's when a subluxation occurs. And on top of that, if you look at the amount of sugar that we consume, or the amount of grains, the excessive amounts of grains that we consume, and the amounts of protein that cause our body to become acidic, then no wonder our bodies are such a mess. The third type of stress that we're exposed to are emotional stresses. And these are basically the stresses at work, with our family members, with our relationships, with finances, and maybe a death of a loved one. When we're exposed to these stresses, our bodies jump into a thing called fight or flight mode, or sympathetic mode dominant. And basically that gets us ready to defend ourselves. So if you were being attacked by a wild animal, being in that fight or flight mode or that sympathetic mode dominant would be appropriate. But when you start worrying about things like a deadline that needs to be made at the end of the week, and you harbor those feelings day after day, week after week, month after month, you can see being in this mode for a long period of time wouldn't be a good thing. And that overwhelming stress that we're exposed to can cause that nervous system to become subluxated or disturbed. So the basic thing that I want you to get from this video is a realization of some of the things that we expose our bodies to, and the effect of what those stresses do to our body, specifically our nervous system. That way you can realize some of those things and mitigate some of the things that you expose your body to.